Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sam. Today I wanted to discuss a language I have a lot of interest in. Not a language I'm particularly strong in, but I think it deserves attention. This is the Chaghatay language, or as it's called, was referred to by the people that used it, Turkey, also called Eastern Turkey. This was the literary and kind of higher, literary language of Central Asia from roughly like about the 14th century Timurid period up to the 19th century. Today, the main descendants are probably Uzbek, and to a certain, and also the Uyghur language spoken in Altashar or Xinjiang in China. The most famous work in Chaghatay is the Baburnama. These are, of course, the memoirs of the founder of the Mughal dynasty. He was a Timurid prince. His ancestors had ruled Samarkand, and he goes and conquers a number of cities. Probably my favorite book, just because it's so rare we get a first-person account from especially an Islamic ruler from this time. That's very real, I would say. Like, you really understand his personality. He's really fascinating, and I just love it. And also, if you like kind of military history, he's really detailed about the battles and kind of the tactics, which some of the other chroniclers, if they're more kind of literary people, they don't always know that. But Babur describes that in some detail. So really interesting. Obviously, this is the English version, but it was originally written in Chaghatay. It was his memoir, and then it was translated into Persian, and then it's been subsequently into English, and I'm sure many other languages. But very. Probably the most famous. There's other works as well. There's the poems of the poet Alishir Navai. There's the history, the Shajara-i Tarakima. This is the chronicle of Abul Ghazi Bahadur. This is commissioned in the 17th century by the Khan of Khiva, which is like a pretty deep history of the Turks. It goes all the way back to Adam and Japheth, because the Turks are descended from Japheth of the Bible, or Japheth. And then another major text is the Firdaus al-Iqbal of the Khanate of Khwarezm. That's done in the 19th century. And there's others as well. There's manuscripts that are on the Jarring collection. These were collected by the Swedish explorer, and later he became a diplomat. But I think he was an active scholar for his entire life, pretty much. But he when he was young, he went to Kashgar. He brought back a lot of manuscripts to Sweden. And those are digitized. You can find those online. The British Library also had, they have quite a few Chaghatay manuscripts, but as the time I'm making this video, they are still recovering from a pretty major cyber attack that happened, unfortunately. So those texts are not available. The digitized versions aren't available online. But the point is, there is quite a lot of material, and I'm sure there's probably a lot in Uzbekistan, Central Asia generally, that has not been digitized or anything, and there's probably stuff that's just sitting in archives, sitting in manuscript libraries, that's probably worth studying. How would you learn to read Chaghatay? Obviously, it's not a living language. You could start probably maybe with Uzbek or with Uyghur, but I think Eric Schlussel's Introduction to Chaghatay, a graded textbook for Central Asian sources, is probably the best if you want to do it for reading. Schlussel is a historian of the Uyghurs and in China, he put this textbook together. The PDF of this is available online for totally free, but I bought the print copy just because I prefer paper books if I can get them. He he has a note here that I think is worth, I've kind of said, but is worth repeating. Unfortunately, the present state of learning and reference materials for Chaghatay in English imposes a significant intellectual, temporal, and financial burden on the student. To my knowledge, no textbook for learning the language has ever been published in English, with the exception of Gustav Roquette's Eastern Turkey grammar, which was focused specifically on the language of Kashgaria in the early 20th century. The other two books, so before Schlussel, if we can take a step back, was, and he has this in the Common Reference Works, is Janusz Ekman's Chaghatay Manual. This was published in the 1960s. Ekman was a really important pioneer in I would say, American Turkology. He is one of these really gifted Hungarian exiles that comes after, during the early kind of socialist period in Hungary. I believe his papers are held at the New York Public Library. But he writes this Chaghatay Manual, and it's not really very user-friendly, I would say. It's not the easiest to pick up and learn the language from, and also the formatting is kind of its time in that way. The other grammar that's out there is Andras J.E. Bodrogligetti's Grammar of Chaghatay. That one I think is good, is useful too, but as Schlussel notes, and I agree, Bodrogligetti's project was rooted in methodologies of linguistic documentation, and as such, his grammar draws on a much broader range of sources than does Ekman's. But like I said, I think if you wanted to just pick it up and learn, this is the best one. We'll talk about and as for dictionaries, why don't we discuss that now? So I think learning any kind of dead literary language, not quite dead, but anyway, is you really need the dictionary if you want to read, especially manuscripts or literary texts or, historiographical works. And unfortunately for Chaghatay, there's no one dictionary. You kind of have to use a bunch of them. So what a lot of people do is they use Steingass's Persian dictionary, because a lot of the vocabulary is the same. I don't really like this method. You can do it, but the orthography is pretty different, is just different enough. I think it makes it confusing. And, most importantly, Chaghatay is not a Persian language. It's Turkic. But I understand why people do this, because, it's as close as you can get. That's one comprehensive dictionary. There are other dictionaries out there. Now, Schlussel mentions a few more, but I'm just going to look at what I've got here in front of me. There's the Dictionnaire Turc Oriental. This is a Chaghatay to French dictionary. It's not the most comprehensive, but, worth having if you can figure out, if you know French or you can figure it out. He's got a lot of example texts in here. I got this from one of these reprinters from India that are on Abe Books. So, and at the very least, because I got it in this format, I have a, handsome looking book, but, this is another option. Now you can use Steingas, or not Steingas, I'm sorry, Red House's Turkish and English lexicon. This is used mostly for Ottoman Turkish, which is more what I'm familiar with. But the orthography and a lot of the vocabulary is fairly different. It's just really not quite the same. Especially a lot of the enough of the verbs that get used in Chaghatay versus Ottoman are different. And the Chaghatay uses more vowels rather than, if you know, most languages written in the Arabic script, Arabic, Persian, and Ottoman Turkish as well. Most of the vowels are not written out. You just have to know which vowel is being used, except if it's a long vowel, so vav, ya, or the long aleph. So it can help, but it's not. I've tried it, and it doesn't always quite work, and it can kind of be frustrating because you have to look at the Chaghatay and figure out like what the orthography should look like in Ottoman, and that's can be kind of frustrating if you're trying to work through like a manuscript or something. And in terms of reading like a sample text, so Schlussel gives quite a range of sources, I think, which is helpful. So we've got to learn. So we've got legal document, we've got newspaper, some narrative texts. My favorite, because I love Babur, is Babur's description of Fargana, which I will try to read some of this. I'm a little rusty reading Chaghatay, but I will give it a try just to show you guys. And he gives, Schlussel gives part of it is in the manuscript, so the script that used here is Nastaliq. If you're familiar with Persian, it's pretty much Nastaliq. And then he's also got it printed quite handily. So, Bismillah al-Rahman al-Rahim, Ramazan ayı tarihi Siniz 899'da Fargana vilayetinde 12 yaşta padişah buldum. Fargana vilayeti 5. iklimdendir. Mamuraning kenarısında vaki buluptur. Şarkı Kaşgar Garbi Samarkand Cenubi Badhaşanın Sarhadi dağları ve Şamlı'da eğerçe burun. So basically, and like I said, my reading is not very good here, but he's describing, so just to look at this real quick. So we have the Bismillah al-Rahman al-Rahim, normal, Islamic opening in the month of Ramazan. So this is the Islamic calendar, on the date of 8 Toksan Dokuzda. So here is our locative case. So on this date, now in Ottoman usually, or it would be written as this with a ha, but in Chaghatay they use alif sometimes. Fargana vilayeti da. And also another thing about Chaghatay, if you know the vowel harmony, other Turkic languages, It's not totally consistent, I think. But 12 years I have been Padishah, I have been the ruler for 12 years. I bul, so that's the verb of to be, bul mak, and dum, I was Padishah. And then he gives a description of where Fergana is. Fergana vilayeti Beshinji Eklim. It's in the 5th clime. So this is how Islamic geographers organize the world. So the world is divided into a number of climes, and Fergana is in the 5th clime. And then we have our from case done from the 5th clime. The province of Fergana is from the 5th clime, and then we have dur, which is our it is from the 5th clime. Mamuraning Kenara Sida. I believe that's it is known, but I'm on its in its vicinity or on its border. Vaki, it is, there is, or it's taking place. It is. I don't remember what this means. So, but anyway, moving on. To the east, Kashgar, and to the west, Garbi. There's Samarkand, and then he goes on, and it continues on, and Schlussel gives you a breakdown of everything. Like I said, my reading is not the best, so I apologize, but he gives explanations in here, and that's why I said I think this is the best work. But I think I'll leave it there, and I just wanted to make this video because there's really nothing on YouTube about Chaghatay, and I would say there's not really a whole lot on like more historical looks at languages, and kind of approaching languages, especially ones like this, the way, to do kind of philology. So I hope you found this interesting, at least, and maybe I'll do more on Chaghatay in the future, if that's something people find interesting. And thank you for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video.